was the king of talk.
Larry was the face of CNN.
From presidents to professional athletes.
Do you still face racism when you play?
Music royalty.
How do they tell you you're going to be a knight?
To actual royalty. Movie stars to murderers.
What's it like to kill someone?
Heads of state to captains of industry.
Is that a logical expansion, Bill, for Microsoft?
No one captured pop culture like Larry King on his iconic show.
It was breaking news. It was long profiles. It was presidents.
It was the most interesting show that we had.
Interesting in part because King landed so many exclusives.
Deep Throat himself, Mark Felt, finally speaks.
And got hard to get stars to open up.
A good question can open up doors in my mind that I would never think of discussing with anybody.
Larry King made news, broke news, and broke ground.
Together for the first time ever on television, Jordan's King Hussein, Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, and PLO Chairman Yasser Arafat talk about peace in the Middle East.
In live TV, anything can happen.
Feels like a leg.
Okay, look at this. Remember this?
Get better!
It's not gonna hurt you.
Only a lizard.
And on Larry King Live, it certainly did.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
He got up close and personal in more than 50,000 interviews across a career spanning more than 6 decades. Not bad for a Jewish boy from Brooklyn, born in 1933. Back then, he was Lawrence Zeiger.
My father died when I was 9.5. I was on relief for 3 years. I dreamed of being on the radio one day. That's all I ever dreamed of.
That dream came true in the 1950s in Miami, Florida. New city, new job, and a new name, courtesy of his boss.
He's got the Miami Herald open, and it was an ad for King's Wholesale Liquors. And he says, "That's your name, Larry King."
In the late 70s, King hosted a show airing coast to coast.
Mutual Radio presents The Larry King Show.
A national audience got to know King and his knack for lively conversation.
What you want in an interview is a passion, a sense of humor, ability to explain what you do very well, and a little bit of a chip on your shoulder.
Ted Turner came calling in 1985. He needed a new host for his fledgling cable news network.
This is the premiere edition of Larry King Live.
I think we both put each other on the map.
We made CNN because everyone started coming to that show.
Among them, the leaders of the free world.
I don't want to dwell on the Watergate thing.
You might well have been reelected if you didn't pardon Richard Nixon. What are you proudest of?
What is it like to be shot?
Former CNN White House producer Wendy Walker oversaw King's show for 18 years.
Larry talked to all the presidents, and I think they all felt very comfortable talking to him.
You still like this job?
Nobody knew if Larry was a Republican or a Democrat. He had no agenda.
One frequent guest even filled in for Larry before moving on to other things.
I'm Donald Trump, sitting in for Larry tonight.
Trump was a great guest because he was a character. But president, I never thought of him as president.
Larry King Live had an international audience. Global leaders knew if they talked to King, they talked to the world.
Terrorism depends on...
Who wins?
That's right. I was called a terrorist yesterday, but then I came out of jail. Many people embraced me, including my enemies.
Was there a Holocaust?
You want to impose your viewpoint on me?
No, it's not a viewpoint, it's a question. I normally don't like to get argumentative, but that really threw me off a loop.
As an interviewer, King usually was easygoing, but sometimes critics were not.
I loved having people say that Larry asked softball questions, because I just figured more people would come on. I think it was more that he didn't ask long questions. He asked those short questions so it would be about the guest.
Sometimes it really was about King, or really his signature suspenders. He started wearing them in the 80s after he lost weight following heart surgery.
You both wore braces in my honor.
That's right, we certainly did. We wanted to, just because you always wear these things.
Sometimes the show focused on more serious subjects.
Welcome to a special edition of Larry King Live, the North American Free Trade Agreement.
Like the historic NAFTA debate he moderated in 1993. It was Larry's most watched show on CNN.
How do you stop it without NAFTA?
Give me your whole mind.
Yeah, I'm listening. I haven't heard the answer, but go ahead.
That's because you haven't quit talking.
Well, clearly won that debate. And Clinton called me up the day after that, and he said, I owe you.
June 1994, another historic TV moment unfolds while King is on the air.
Police believe that O.J. Simpson is in that car.
The slow-speed chase gave way to the trial of the century and one of the biggest stories of King's career.
The O.J. Simpson story was the first reality TV.
Now, live from Los Angeles, here's Larry King.
After court wrapped up for the day, key figures in the trial headed to King's show night after night.
We ended up knowing all the players from Johnny Cochran
A lawyer doesn't have to believe his client did or didn't do something, correct?
to Marcia Clark.
Did you say we are fighting a losing battle here?
You bet. It was such a shocking, amazing story that we covered it from the beginning until the end.
When it was over, even the man at the center of it all went to King first.
With us on the phone now is O.J. Simpson.
So many of my friends have told me that you've been fair in hosting your show and bringing the points of view from both sides.
Covering the trial from Los Angeles affected King's personal life. That's where he met his seventh wife, Shawn. They were together more than 20 years before filing for divorce in 2019, but his longest relationship was with the microphone.
I was in love with what I was doing. You know why? It never lets me down. This is my blanket.
In dark times, viewers turned to King to help make sense of the world. He said the hardest story he ever covered was 9/11.
Tonight, we'll visit Ground Zero, a place of unspeakable horror and extraordinary heroes.
King hosted telethons benefiting victims of disasters like the Haiti earthquake and Hurricane Katrina. He started his own charity after his first heart attack in the late 80s. The longtime smoker also had diabetes, successfully fought prostate and lung cancer, and underwent quintuple bypass surgery. In the spring of 2019, King checked back into the hospital for chest pain, one of many hospital stays for reported cardiac and circulation issues. In the summer of 2020, he mourned the loss of two children, his son Andy to a heart attack, and his daughter Kaya to lung cancer. After a quarter century at CNN, King decided to hang up his cable news suspenders.
Welcome to the last Larry King Live. It's hard to say that. I knew this day was coming.
It was 2010, and by then, King had set the Guinness World Record for longest-running show with the same host on the same network in the same time slot.
It was a wonderful ride. Best years of my life.
He was done with CNN, but he wasn't finished.
Welcome to Larry King Now.
In 2012, King returned to the interview chair on the digital streaming network Aura TV.
I haven't changed. Technology has changed.
Larry King spent his life asking others about themselves. But when the King of Talk was asked about himself, he reflected on a broadcasting legacy that entertained, enlightened, and endured.
Through his ability, he brought information and entertainment to people. In times of stress, he helped them overcome it. Times of joy, he helped them enjoy it. Loved every minute of it.